Hello. Yes, my name is Willie White, and I am recording discussions on the Orange Couch series dealing with gender based violence. I watched the second episode with the young lady Topang in South Africa, and one of the things that um, continues to be real evident in this process is the culture of abuse that is developed in the families of abuse. And so, um, trauma is something that, if not addressed, has the ability to continue to plague the individual on into generations later, simply because of the way that a person responds to a traumatic event has the ability to shape their responses across the spectrum. And so the funny thing about trauma is that um, experiences the person who experiences whatever that event is the one who is going to be the illustrator or the person able to describe or characterize an event as traumatic. One thing, it's easy to say that, one thing that is traumatic to one person is not necessarily traumatic to another person. And that's even with sexual violence or domestic violence or relationship violence. As Mr. Payne discussed, there was a lot of things that she was able to normalize as a result of the culture of abuse, which made her able to be open to the grooming process of this older gentleman who was already married, who went through the process of grooming her, who went through the process of bringing her into, not even beating her into a position of submission, but violently torturing her into a position of submission after the charming and the facade of a love. He went through the process of communicating with her family and paying the price of Lobola, and then things and painted the picture of normal. She stated it correctly. In some cultures and some realities, young ladies believe that if a male puts a ring on her finger, then everything is okay. And so, in that process, in that fairy tale, in that delusion or illusion of love and family that she had been holding on to, she got lost and she lost her identity. The one thing that I can say about this young lady is that she had an inherent resiliency. She was able to hold on to some things throughout the appearance of trauma that she seemed to minimize throughout the presentation. There was something going on. She got pregnant at 16. She wound up in the home of her grandparents. She painted the picture of perfection. All of these things were in contrast to the reality of where she landed up. She was able to go away to school, and then she was then indoctrinated into this place of abuse. It was amazing that through her process of coming to, she was able to meet others and connect with others that have been in similar situations. And it sounded like she started an organization to help individuals to be able to love themselves from within. I thought it was very interesting that she said in there that most victims of abuse are women, but there are men who are also abused through the process of gender based violence who do not necessarily come forth as willingly because of the stigma. Abuse is ugly across the board. And again, my strong opinion is that we have to approach the solution from the system. And so when we start to teach it in our schools, and when we start to have those discussions around the dinner table and in our churches and in our city civic centers about the reality of open dialogue and open communication with our children, with our loved one, about danger signs of abuse, then we will be able to start the process of preparing the next generation to be able to protect themselves a little differently. There is ugly, there is evil in the world. And just like the victim is acculturated to the position of victimhood, I believe that the aggressor is also acculturated to the atmosphere of aggression. And so somewhere in there, the cycle has to be broken, and it's not a one-sided fix. We can't only teach women how to look out for the abusers. We have to teach men that it is not okay to abuse. We have to teach men that the messages that they receive from an abusive environment does not automatically mean that they have to continue that cycle of abuse. But it starts with love. It starts with healing. It starts with the process of being able to get involved with the system of change. And I thank God that young lady Topanga was able to fight through and use the system and be involved with the process, and I wish her well. God bless.